Thank you, each one of you, taking time to be with us. So thank you very much for your support. We are definitely going to kick off with the founder, the person who put together Ethos together. So I am going to hand it over. I'm just going to make a couple of requests. Please mute yourself when you're not speaking. And then we will be looking forward. Please come with a lot of questions. And there is a chat window. If there's anything that I can do, do not hesitate to reach out to me. And it's all yours, Dr. Weiss. Dr. Weiss is the founder of Ethos, and I'll let him take over. Dr. Weiss, you will have to unmute yourself. And
how about that?
Yes, that's
this
good.
is, I think, the first time I remember that you told me that I should start talking instead of stop talking.
You got it. You got it. You got it.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. It makes us very excited to see all these beautiful faces that we enjoy seeing so much, our friends. So if you are here tonight, you are either a farm stand customer, or you are a member of our Ethos Primary Care family, or you're just a person who's interested in the work that we've done, and you've come to find out more about the Ethos Farm Project. So tonight's program for our agenda I'm going to discuss in a moment. We're going to try to keep this session to an hour, and we'll end with a nice question and answer session to answer any questions you may have. I think what we're going to do first is I'm just going to give you a little introduction as to our what we're all about, just in case you don't know, for those unfamiliar. And then we are going to hear from our farmer, our master farmer, the wonderful Nora Puglisi, and she's going to tell us what's up for next year for this farming season. You know, I guess some people think that farmers are sleeping at this time when the snow covers the farm, but not for Nora, not for our regenerative farmers. They're all busy working away, dreaming and planning for next year during the winter months. And then we're going to talk about the Ethos Farm Project, the vision for it, what is here today and in existence, and how we can build that out for the future and meet our wildest expectations. And then I'm going to introduce a special guest star, Will Garces. Will and his lovely wife Elaine have become donors and patrons of the Ethos Farm Project, and we're going to hear a few words from him so that he can tell us a little bit about the farm. Okay. So Asha, maybe the next slide.
Whoops. Hold on. Okay. Thank you.
So what is the Ethos Farm Project? Well, let's start with the first two words, Ethos Farm. You know, we are a farm, and we are a regenerative farm. And I always like to start off by defining that word regenerative farming or regenerative agriculture, because it is a newly coined word, coined by Rodale Institute, the organic regenerative authority in the world. And we're so lucky to be collaborating with Rodale at Ethos Farm on our effect, our unique research project which is transforming our farm from the industrial agriculture practices of the past to regenerative practices. So what is regenerative agriculture? Well, when I think of farming, I think of it as a mining operation, because what's happening is you're planting crops in the soil, and then those crops grow fruits or vegetables or grains or something that human beings are going to harvest. We harvest that plant material, that food, and we walk off the farm with it. So that means that we are robbing the soil of its nutrients and its components. And conventional agriculture does not account for that. Year after year, it continues to deplete the soil until there's nothing left of it and the soil is destroyed. Regenerative agriculture, on the other hand, must account for everything that is taken out of the soil and return it so that we can regenerate the soil and keep it for future generations, for our children, for April and Rocco's little grandbabies, so that the whole world can continue. So that's what regenerative agriculture is. And I'm sure Nora will talk some more about this, but I know she likes to say that she doesn't really grow vegetables, she grows the soil. She's always focusing on bringing life to the soil. And once she does that, that will automatically bring life, aromas, rich flavors and textures to all this beautiful produce that she grows and you enjoy from the farm stand. So that's what regenerative agriculture is. And because we are a farm that adheres to these methods, it is our mission to use these methods to not only regenerate the soil, but then produce food that regenerates human health. That's your health, the health of the community, the people who eat this wonderful, tasty food. This food, when eaten in the context of a diet of whole plant foods, reverses diabetes, reverses aging, reverses atherosclerosis, prevents cancer, reverses the diseases of chronicity. So it's our mission to do that. And of course, while we're doing that, raise a new generation of physicians in our medical practice, raise a new generation of farmers. And so we can teach them to do this. So someday our state has growers to provide food for the New Jerseyans. And of course, I did mention that in the process of doing this, we help to reverse climate change. More about that in a little bit. Okay, so ultimately, I think up front, our goals are to basically bring the garden back to the garden state. So when I was growing up in New Jersey in the 1960s, in Bergen County, there were four working farms in my town of Fair Lawn, and we ate from those farms. And we were called the Garden State for a good reason. And that's because New Jersey was the most proficient agricultural state in the nation. We produced more produce per acre of farm than even California. Overall, we didn't produce as much because we're a small state, but per acre, we produced more produce than California, and that's saying something. And not only that, we produced the market basket. We were leaders in the top few, either 1, 2, or 3, in the whole market basket of delicious vegetables that are good and healthy for you. So our ultimate goal is to bring back that garden and to start in Long Valley on our farm. So without further ado, let's hear more from the doyen of regenerative farming in our neck of the woods, and that's Nora Puglisi.
Hello, everybody. Thank you all for being here. I just want to say that it's so affirming, I think, to all of us at Ethos to have you here and to know that you share our goals and that you're supportive of our work. Changing our agricultural and healthcare system, addressing climate change in a meaningful way, these are all huge challenges that confront us. So I find it really inspiring and energizing to be able to come together like this and share our commitment, to affect positive change in the world. So thank you all for joining us. This year is almost over, and I, for one, will release a big sigh for that. 2020 has been a difficult year for all of us, I think, and many of us have felt it deeply in different ways, between COVID and wildfires and civil unrest and simply the separation and isolation from each other. I think many of us have been stretched to our limits. But one positive thing I would say that has come out of this year is that I think many more people have been made aware of and are interested in where their food comes from, how it's grown, who are the people that are growing their food. I think people have become much more concerned and interested in connecting in a deeper way with their food system, the food itself that they're eating, and the people who grow it. And we worked really hard this year to sort of meet the needs of our community and provide, a reliable supply of really abundant, beautiful, delicious, nutritious organic vegetables and flowers. And we did that. We delivered that through our NextGen Farmer initiative. This year, we graduated our first farmer from that program, and we're going to call that our pilot program and our first pilot farmer. So I want to tell you a little bit about what that program is. So the NextGen Farmer program is being designed to address some of the bigger questions, really, that are for the future of farming. Most of the farmers throughout the country are, let's just say, they're not spring chickens, and they're sort of nearing the end of their farming careers. So some of the really important questions that we're asking are who's going to replace these farmers? What kind of farmers will they be, and what methods will they use? Are they going to contribute to the climate and environmental degradation that our current agricultural system fosters? Or are they going to be part of the solution? Who's going to train these farmers? How will they access land? And, really importantly, are they going to be able to make a living? So through the NextGen program, we would like to train new farmers in regenerative methods by giving them access to our organic land, our infrastructure, our equipment, and our markets. We envision this to be a 2-year immersive program of fieldwork, obviously, but also to contain a really strong core curriculum of coursework and hopefully even participation in research that's happening at Ethos now and in the future. And in the big vision of this program, what we'd like to do is to create a farming cooperative on Ethos land, where our graduates could move onto our land with their own operations, sharing in the costs of equipment and infrastructure with the other farmers in the cooperative. and really create a local, healthy food economy right here, based at Ethos, one that regenerates the land and the people who inhabit it. So for those of you who shopped at the market this year, you knew Andrew. He was our pilot incubator farmer, and he finished out his time with us this year. I think it was just a really tremendous learning experience, both for him and for us. I think he discovered that he was most interested in the business of agriculture, and that's what fascinated him most. So he has gone on to graduate school to further his education. I think that we at Ethos discovered that the Next Gen program is a really worthwhile endeavor, but that it needs much further development. We need to fully develop the curriculum and the farm itself so that we have the equipment, the infrastructure, the tools, and the systems in place to actually run the program. And we'll be asking for your help to do these things. The market itself, again, I'm sure at least a number of you are familiar with it, and you came and bought your vegetables from us, but you know, some of you might not be familiar with it. So I'll talk just a little bit about it. It's located on the farm, and it's there to serve the public as well as the patients of Ethos Primary Care. The market grew considerably this year. We had more customers who bought more produce, and I think, you know, COVID no doubt played an important part in that, just like it has for small scale organic farms all across the country this year. I think saw a lot more interest in their food and what they're doing. So there's been definitely a greater demand for local, healthy food, and we certainly experienced that at Ethos. It wasn't always easy on the production end. There were severe seed shortages and supply chain problems. At times we weren't able to get the seed that we wanted at all, and other times we had to wait many weeks for it to come here. I think that, again, there were supply chain issues, but also so many people wanted to have their own gardens this year, and that's a great and positive thing, but it actually affected the supply of seeds for farmers all across the country. Another thing that we worked on, we had to obviously implement safety practices and protocols to keep our farm crew and our customers safe. I think we were able to successfully, you know, navigate a path through all of these issues, and our customers have just been so appreciative of our efforts. I know everybody thinks they have the best customers, but I really think we do. When you're working out in the field long and hard, it is just super rewarding to hear directly from the people who are buying and eating your food just how much they value that food and the work that you're doing, and the work of building a community, building Ethos as a center of that community. For those of you who have not visited our market, we grow a lot of different vegetables, over 50 different vegetables, with numerous varieties of each of them. We place a really strong focus on greens. That's an important part of Dr. Weiss's protocol, and we grow just a tremendous amount of them, all different kinds of varieties, and I think we do a great job with those, and we really enjoy it. We also work directly with Dr. Weiss to grow varieties that are especially nutrient dense and medicinal. Last year we were open just on the weekends, but this year we'd really like to expand our open days to better serve our community. So talking about or heading into next year, we've already started planning the, you know, as far as I'm concerned, we're on to the next season already. the amount of planning that goes into our production might surprise many of you. We have to develop a greenhouse seed starting schedule for every single plant that we grow. We have crop plans for every single foot of bed space, which includes working out, rotations and how to work cover cropping into those rotations. We develop plans for fertilization and irrigation and pest and disease management, plans for the farm market management and hiring the crew. And right now we're creating seed orders and orders for supplies and looking at equipment purchases and trying to plan for growth. Obviously, budgeting is a huge part, a really important part of the planning process. And this pioneering campaign that you'll be hearing about is going to have a huge impact on what we're able to do this coming season. Remarkably, we have been able already to raise funds that will pay for my salary as well as a field manager's salary. I'm in the process right now of interviewing for that position, and I really hope to have that person here on the farm by early January to help get the season kicked off. Having an experienced farmer here will allow me to devote some of my time to developing the curriculum and the syllabus for the Next Gen Farmer program. But we also need the funds to expand the infrastructure and make the purchases necessary in tools and equipment to actually run the program properly. So we need your help to do that. Other than salaries, most of the farm costs occur in the first 3 months of the year. And we're jumping right in. By January, we hope to have our seeds ordered and get them secure before any shortages might occur this year. I think we're all pretty much expecting at least something similar as to last year, where the seeds will be in shorter supply than we would like. And then the other farm costs sort of follow rapidly after that. So we're getting going on all of this. I'm super excited about this season. I love to grow food. I love working with other farmers. It is such a privilege to be able to observe the natural world and support it through our methods. We're going to be participating this year in a research project that will evaluate the effect of a tool called the roller crimper tool. We'll be using that on the cover crops. We are one of only 2 organic farms that will participate in this trial. And it's really critical that we're able to generate the research data on how organic systems compare to chemical agriculture. So I'm super excited about that. But I think mostly I am excited to help progress Dr. Weiss's vision for the farm and for Ethos and the mission of Ethos in general. So with that, I will turn it back to you, Dr. Weiss.
Dr. Weiss, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Okay. Well, sorry about
Thank
that.
you so much, Nora.
Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
Nora. Thank you. I loved it. I get excited just listening to all the plans you have. And next year sounds really promising. Thank you for doing all this hard work. Nora talked about the vision, and I just want to talk a little bit about that. When we first got the farm, we bought it almost exactly eight years and 1 month ago. As soon as we got the farm, the next year, we tried to develop a plan for it. And we went to the Rutgers Graduate Business School and applied to be taken on as a pro bono client, which they did, to develop a plan for this, whatever we were dreaming up. And I, as you were talking, Nora, I remembered back to those days, those first meetings with the Rutgers Graduate School of Business, which is one of the top MBA programs in the country. And the professors kept asking us, they didn't understand why I was opening up an office on a farm. It didn't make any business sense. And of course, that's the story of my life. Nothing I ever do makes any business sense. They said that I'd be much better off just going into an office building in Morristown and in a medical arts building and opening up an office, because the overhead would be a fraction of what it was. I will work my life away trying to support this farm. And they were right. But as the years have gone on, we have come to accept that we did not just create a medical practice, we are creating a farm-based healthcare system. It is a chimera or a hybrid of a healthcare system and a food system. And you can't create that in a medical arts building in Morristown. So we were so excited about a year ago when we saw the Rockefeller Foundation had created a prize to create a regenerative food system for a particular place in the world. And we entered this competition and we chose our beautiful garden state of New Jersey and to create a food system for. A home base would be Ethos Farm. And it was the Ethos Farm Project vision that we're talking to you about. And the major components were the Next Gen Farmers program, where we, as Nora said, we take young farmers onto the land, we give them land and housing and mentorship, and then someday hope to build this into a cooperative so we have a rich farming output here in the valley that can feed northern New Jersey, regenerative plant foods. The Next Gen Physicians program, which is currently up and running. So as many of you know, I am an assistant professor of clinical medicine at Rutgers, and we have I think the world's first approved rotation for medical students to a farm. So believe it or not, medical students come, and I know some of our patients have met them, and they learn how to reverse and prevent disease with whole plant foods. And they learn about where these plant foods come from and why it's important to grow them regeneratively. We mentioned the third component of this Ethos Farm project, which is the EFFECT, Ethos Farm Ecosystem and Carbon Trial. And that's based on restoration of our valley. For those of you who are not aware of this, there are 42 permanently preserved farms in our valley, in Long Valley. Your tax dollars from the state of New Jersey went to preserve these farms, and the farms cover our valley, which was once a rare eastern prairie, and we are restoring all of our conventional farmlands with the grasses that once grew in our valley, pre-European settlement during Lenni Lenape days. And so these grasses have been shown to restore soil, to put that life back in that I was talking about earlier. And in doing so, can be an enormous sink to absorb carbon from the atmosphere. And this is what we are studying with Rodale. Rodale has already taken 200 core samples of our fields, and they're sitting at Rodale from our Ethos soil, awaiting analysis. We hope to determine what the process is for the soil life, taking this carbon and burying it in the soil. And once we know that, we can use this knowledge to enhance carbon sequestration and lower CO2 levels in the atmosphere. Lastly, I know some of you on the call had the great pleasure of hearing Colin Campbell and Dr. Esselstyn and Joel Furman at our amazing farm days last year. That is just part of the vision, just a little taste of the wonderful things that we can do on this farm to reach out to the community and share the farm with our community. This farm was saved by the community from development, by your tax dollars, and it's our desire to give you the farm back, to invite you onto the farm so it's your farm too. And we plan to do that with these farm days. And then that old stone barn, hopefully one day we can restore it into a community center with teaching kitchens, and it can be a center of activity. So those are the 4 components of our Ethos Farm Project, and it is the 4 phases of our campaign to raise funds to make this dream come alive. Of course, everything starts with the farming, because without Nora, without the growing of these whole foods, we're just a medical practice, or we're just a research project. So it's with excitement that I listen to Nora's plans and hope that we'll go forward into this new year and grow beautiful and delicious food by her hand. So I'd now, without further ado, like to introduce to you Will Garces. Will.
Hi, everybody. My name is Will Garces, and I wanted to share with you what brought me to the Ethos Farm. I actually wrote down some words, and I'd like to share them with you because it'll tell you, everybody comes to the farm for different reasons. And I'll tell you my reason and what happened, and I'll share that with you, and I hope it helps. The journey that brought me to the Ethos Farm started with a family tragedy. I'm a senior partner of the law firm of Garces, Grabler, and LeBrock. I worked alongside my younger brother, Rick. One Saturday morning, while at the office, I received a call from a friend who was helping my brother clean his garage. He informed me that my brother was having chest pains, and he was taken to the hospital. At first, I didn't think much that it was serious at all, and I kept working at my desk like I am tonight. I'm working tonight at the office. I'm writing a brief. I've been working on it for about 36 hours, and I didn't think it was serious. And then I got a call from my mother, and she said, "Will, it's real serious." So I ran to the hospital as quick as I could, and I saw my brother die right in front of me as he was being transported up the hospital elevator. He left behind a loving wife and 2 small children. He was only 51 years old. Our lives had never been the same. In my agony and despair, I looked for answers as to why this happened, and I started to investigate, and I found that my brother was the victim of processed food and the sad American diet. He, like many of us, were ignorant and have fell victims to processed foods, the cravings, the crazy weight loss diet program that he was on. He was on the Atkins diet. I then went to get my own heart checked, and I found that I had coronary heart disease. I had a 3D CT scan, and I discovered that 75% of all the arteries going into my heart and leaving my heart were blocked. I was suffering from this coronary heart disease, and I told the doctors, I went to a group of distinguished cardiologists, and they told me that I would have to carry with me nitroglycerin tablets at all times, and I needed to have surgically implant stents, and I had to be on statin drugs the rest of my life. And for a brief moment, my world stopped, and I had a glimpse of reality. I was 5'10", I weighed 265 pounds, and everything I worked for my entire life was in jeopardy. I was in jeopardy of losing. One sleepless night, I saw a public broadcast station that had Dr. Joel Fuhrman on. He spoke about health benefits of food. I picked up the book that he had written. I think it's called Eat to Live. And it made sense to me. But what really changed my life was when I heard about a doctor named Ron Weiss and Ethos Farm. I heard the doctor was a farmer who believed that the food one ate was the medicine we needed. And then I met Dr. Weiss. And as anyone who's ever met him can tell you, I found a kind, knowledgeable, passionate, talented, caring human being. I then had the pleasure of meeting Nora, the farmer. I found her equally kind, knowledgeable, passionate, talented. These two people, in my opinion, are an absolute gift from God. And with the help of my lovely wife, Elaine, and her support, we have strictly followed the whole food plant-based diet for the past 3 years. And it's changed my life. Now I weigh 150 pounds. I feel 30 years younger. I'm 62 years old, and I literally haven't felt this good since I was in college. With the help of Dr. Weiss and the farm, I've transformed my life, and I'm eternally grateful to them. On many nights, I've looked out at the stars, and I've asked myself, why would Dr. Weiss leave a successful, established medical practice in North Jersey and buy a farm and practice medicine from a small farmhouse in Morris County? You know, then I would ask myself also, why would Dr. Weiss subsidize the farm and all the food at the farmer's market? And why would Dr. Weiss bring wonderful guest speakers from all around the country to speak, you know, at his expense, never asking anything of anybody? And I truly believe he wants to change the world a little better. He wants to make it a little better than he found it. I think he truly wants to repair what he sees as a broken system and has a vision of what is possible. I believe he's truly a devoted father who loves his children and wants to do what is best for his children, and our grandchildren. He wants to leave us all a better world than we have. And I'm reminded of a biblical story of a man named Noah, who was asked by God to build an ark with nowhere near any water. But he did it, and he saved the animals of the world. This man is not going to realize his vision alone. He's going to need our help. I truly believe together, there's nothing we can't accomplish. My wife, Elaine, and I cannot stand idly by and let these two wonderful people struggle alone. We are pledging funds to support Ethos Farm this coming year, and I'm asking you to do the same. Anyone who has been to the farm can clearly see that it needs major renovations and maintenance. Nora has worked there for 6 years with little staffing and equipment. She deserves help. She deserves equipment. She deserves better. Our goal is to equip and supply the farm appropriately. Our goal is to raise $500,000. I'm pleased to report we've already raised $200,000 so far, but we need to raise $300,000 more. So please join in supporting the Ethos Farm Project. You can help in 2 ways. One, by joining me and donating generously. Your gift will preserve the farm, and I can tell you it will change the future. And 2, if you know anyone who Dr. Weiss's message might resonate with, please introduce them to the program. Anyone can contribute by going to the ethosprimarycare.com website and choose the Preserve the Farm campaign tab and find a great film about, you know, the farm and an outline of detailing the campaign. The link on the page has been included in the chat, and I thank you for your support. And I want to send you back to Dr. Ron and Nora. And I want to tell you guys, you know, God bless you. And let's make 2021 a really wonderful year. 2020 has been tough, but we're going to get through it. And I love you guys. And, you know, my wife and I, we really look forward to those events we have every month. And they're special. They're really, really special. Like when I go on that farm, I'm lifted up. I really feel great. When we buy the food there, I know it nourishes my soul. And Nora, you have beautiful hands. You're a beautiful person. You're a beautiful, you know, God, you guys are wonderful, a real blessing. And I'm so proud to be able to talk on your behalf.
Thank you, Will.
Thank you, Will.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We don't really know what to say. Thank you. Thank you. So what do you say after that? I guess, how about some questions and answers? If anyone has any questions, anything, even if it's how to germinate a radish seed, whatever you have. Any questions?
Does Asha need to unmute everybody, or can people do that on their own?
Yeah, everybody can unmute yourselves on your own, definitely. Please, we want to listen to you. Please unmute yourselves. I also posted the link for the website too, to get more details. And if you don't feel like, asking it verbally, I would be happy to read your question over the chat. So do not hesitate. It would be my pleasure.
Hi, Dr. Weiss. I hope you could hear me.
Hi, I can. Who is this?
Hi, I'm Mitchie Mullen. I'm actually an internist. I trained in New York, and I think this is so wonderful. So my question to you as a physician, did you know how to do all this before becoming a physician? Were you, did you grow up on a farm?
I am a native son of Patterson. Grew up in Patterson and Fairlawn. And I always had a love of plants. My mother helped me to plant my first seeds when I was 4. Always wanted to be a farmer. But, my parents wanted to become a doctor. So I followed the pre-med path, but I got a botany degree from college because I loved plants and everything about them. And I just went straight on to medical school. And I was, and then I did an academic residency at GW, George Washington in DC. Never once during my training did I learn anything about nutrition other than, a few hours maybe of what like a vitamin C molecule looked like and what happened if you didn't get vitamin C, you'd get scurvy and your teeth would fall out. That's about it. After I finished my residency, my father was stricken with end-stage pancreatic cancer. And there was no treatment for him. We took him to Sloan Kettering. He went home to prepare for death, and I stumbled across a book in the library of patient testimonies who had survived pancreatic cancer. And one person had eaten a macrobiotic diet, which is a type of whole plant food diet. We put my father on it, and his life was transformed. His tumor shrunk overall by about 50%, as demonstrated by CAT scan. And I then knew that food was the most powerful medicine. And so that was about 30 years ago, 25 years ago. And since then, I've been on this journey of learning and discovery and self-taught regarding the power of plants. However, just in case you are new to this world, I can give you some resources. The greatest medical book, I think one of them that I've ever learned from is Michael Greger's How Not to Die. It's an evidence-based book where all the research of the power of plants is footnoted and documented. So you can learn a lot from that book, and I encourage you to start.
Thank you. So do you teach new physicians or physicians in training?
We do. We do, because there's no opportunity for medical students or residents to learn this. Nutrition is still taught the same way as it was.
Yes. Oh, that's so sad.
We take the senior medical students and they spend a month on the farm, and we give them evidence-based teaching. They see for the first time, they take people off of diabetes drugs, off of high blood pressure drugs, off of Lipitor. We rarely ever prescribe a drug. And there's now a new specialty, which is called lifestyle medicine. It has its own boards, and you can get them too. I encourage you to do that. Go to lifestylemedicine.org from the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. And it's a very rewarding way to practice medicine. It's a delight.
I'd love to come and learn there.
We'd love to have you.
Okay.
Give us a call. Speak to
Okay.
Anna. She's our lifestyle director.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate this.
Hi, this is Matt. Could I ask a little bit more about your vision for how you would like to bring healthcare and farming closer together?
Well, so the before we had the farm, for years I struggled in a very vibrant medical practice. It was, the name was The Doctors, and it was the most efficient primary care practice in the state of New Jersey as ranked by Aetna US Healthcare. We took such good care of these patients. We saved 80% of all the projected hospital days. 75% of all projected ER visits on our patient population. However, and we did everything in my practice. It was, we even had an obstetric service. We were the town doctors. We served the schools. We even had our own insurance plan, which cost $299 per year for the uninsured. We were open 7 days a week, this practice. But at the end of the day, we were faced with an enormous burden of chronic disease. All the stuff that we mentioned earlier, that we spend 86% of the $3.5 trillion we spend on medical care every year in this country, the diabetes, the obesity, the high blood pressure, the cardiovascular disease, the Alzheimer's. And it was there, and this was that I noticed that food was the cause of all of these problems. And so because of the difficulties of our healthcare system, no matter how many patients we tried to take care of, if we tried to take care of them well, the diseases were so overwhelming of the practice's resources. In order for us to spend time counseling the patients and inspiring them, we couldn't make ends meet. So I decided to end my practice and decided to go to the root of the problem, which was the food. And that's why we ended up on a farm. I sold that practice, took all the money and bought the farm. So the farm is an attempt to intimately marry healthcare to agriculture, and an acknowledgement that our food, not only are we sick, but our food is sick, and our food system in the United States is sick. And we must start from there. We must start from the ground up in order to create a healthy nation. That's the way it goes. That's the way healthcare is married to food, in my opinion, and agriculture.
It's Rocco. Can you talk a little bit about hydroponics as far as nutritional value of growing food that way? There's been some interest lately on that. And I also thought I heard about that it qualifies as organic food.
Yeah,
It doesn't make any sense to me.
Being a botanist, I can tell you that plants don't grow in water. There are aquatic plants, but tomatoes, all the food that we eat that Nora grows, the plants have not evolved to be grown in water. They're evolved to assemble themselves from soil microorganisms. So it's a very unnatural way to grow food and poorly nutritious food, but I'm sure Nora can give you her opinion of that.
Yes, clearly I agree with Dr. Weiss on that. There's no doubt that a living soil is by far the best way to grow food for us to eat. When you think about the life in the soil, we don't think about it too much because we can't see it, but we do know that, one, I don't know what it is exactly, but 1 tablespoon of soil contains as many or more microorganisms than there are people on the planet. And all of those organisms are not only interacting with each other, they're interacting with the plants and the rest of the ecosystem that lives in the soil. And we do know that the symbiotic relationships that exist between the plants and the microorganisms in the soil are absolutely critical for the plants to develop the compounds necessary to become healthy plants to eat. Those compounds that a plant develops that are so beneficial for us, you've probably heard of anthocyanins and that type of thing. Those compounds can't exist and cannot develop in a plant without a full living soil and the microbiology that accompanies that. If you don't have that, that plant is not going to develop its full potential. As an organic farmer, I consider soil the very basis for organic agriculture, and to remove that, in my opinion, really removes it from the organic system. Although currently the USDA has allowed hydroponic growing to be a part of the organic system, and there are many farmers who disagree with that and who have created alternative, are beginning to create alternative labels so that the consumers can be much more aware of what they're purchasing. Rodale in particular, Rodale, who has really created the term organic agriculture and has been the leading research organization for organic agriculture, is creating another label called organic regenerative. It's still in its trial phases. Actually, a few farms trialed it this year, but it will be more widely available soon. They've developed that because they recognize that it's not appropriate to allow hydroponic growing to be called organic. So yes, I don't know. I couldn't tell you honestly exactly the difference between a hydroponically grown plant and a soil grown plant. But I hope in the near future that kind of research will exist, and we'll be able to compare side by side the differences in those two things. But in my point of view is that the soil is absolutely a critical part of organic growing and healthy growing, and certainly the basis for regenerative agriculture. We cannot heal the planet if we do not start by healing our soil.
Thank you. That was very good.
Hi, my name is Chi Hui. Thank you for this meeting. And I have a question for Dr. Weiss. I am from the Chinese medical field, and I'm curious about, have you ever thought about bringing the idea of health, the soil health and regenerative agriculture to other alternative medical professions, such as acupuncturists, chiropractors, or other, medical professionals?
Of course, there are, I think all healers, good food is important, an important tool in the armamentarium of all healers. All healers who appreciate good food, and we are, our practice and the farm is always open to anyone who wants to engage us and learn more. We're always ready to collaborate. So absolutely. There was, we were, I think about a month ago, speaking with someone who is interested in growing Chinese herbs.
Yeah, Dr. Weiss, that was me.
Oh, that was you. Okay.
Yeah, it was me. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So absolutely, absolutely. If they're plants, we're into it.
Yeah, I actually have a lot more questions, but I don't want to occupy other people's time. So I guess we will keep
Definitely.
the email. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Chuck.
Ron, there was a question in the chat. I texted it to you.
Let's see. Okay.
The question is, how can the average person do what you do in their own backyards? Do we need to buy NPK supplements at Home Depot, or is our fallen leaves and compost food enough?
Yes, the average person can do this in their own backyards. The Victory Garden campaign of 1943 during World War II is an example of that, where 40% of all the produce grown and consumed in the United States was grown in people's backyards that year. And, there were no chemicals at that time, So, I'm sure Nora would like to put in her 2 cents, but I would just make sure that if you're growing, depending on where you're growing, you might want to have your soil tested just to make sure it's not contaminated, especially in the area we live in. Rutgers has a soil testing service. You can do that. And as long as it's not contaminated, yeah, you can improve the soil with your own compost. And it can be materials like leaves and kitchen scraps, and you compost it and get to work. And, order your seeds now. Do you have any other tips, Nora?
Well, those compost, leaves, and other natural items, those are the very things that are going to create a living soil in your garden. So as they break down, the microorganisms will work to break those things down. And that's the first step in creating a living soil in your own backyard. So yes, do use those things and to get your garden started on the right foot. If you can create a compost pile to start with, that's fantastic. But there are backyard gardeners who do things like just bring in a bunch of leaves or wood chips and let them sit for a year and then start a garden in that afterwards. There's a million different ways to do it, but if you're starting with those natural materials, you're off to a really good start. You most definitely shouldn't go out to Home Depot and buy, the chemical nutrients to add. That's not gonna help the soil life. If anything, it's gonna stress it out. You might initially get huge growth of green matter on your plants, but it's not a healthy plant, and ultimately it ends up depleting your soil. All of those, compost first and foremost, and you can even buy organic compost you know, at the Home Depot. That's fine to do too if you can't make your own.
Hey, Dr. Weiss.
Yes.
So this this is Russ. I'm going to jump to your other monthly evening session tonight. So thank you, Nora and
Thank you, Russ.
Bill, for this presentation. If we want to make a donation, the best way to do it is just how? What's the best way to make a donation toward this initiative?
Thank you. If you can go to the website, Ethos Primary Care, and there's a farm campaign tab, and there's a pioneering campaign with lots of details and a donate button there.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for this.
Thank you so much, Russ.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. It's 8 o'clock, and I know there's another Ethos meeting. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to email, but we appreciate everyone's attendance tonight.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.